Hey there, welcome back to the channel. Today is December 15th, 2020, and this is the Flight Sim News. So, Christmas is drawing near. We're already halfway through the month. 2020 is almost behind us, and the Flight Sim News just keeps coming. First up is the Eagle Dynamics newsletter, weekend newsletter for DCS World. They go on to start out with our P-47 Thunderbolt will be moving to release state in the coming update. The remarkably rugged and dependable aircraft offers superb gameplay over our World War II battlefields, especially as it was a successful escort fighter and highly effective ground attack aircraft. We would like to share our progress on the new air defense artillery units. Check out the in-development screenshots. They are quite remarkable. The Virtual Air Show team will soon be running their now famous online event. VFAT 2020 will be held on the 11th and 12th of December. Today's the 15th, so I guess we missed that one, but there's a trailer for it. So first up with the P-47, they're going to be releasing it, which means the 20% off from early access will no longer apply pretty soon. Being it's Tuesday, I would almost bet there's a good possibility that Wednesday may bring the update that they're talking about, and when that happens, I'm pretty sure they're going to take that discount away. So if you want to get a little bit of a break on the P-47, now's probably a good time to do it. They've released a few new screenshots of their air defense and artillery units. So it looks like they've created a ZSU 57-2, and then there's a link here to go to more screenshots of it, in addition to an AZP S60. And then they also went on to talk about the VFAT 2020 Air Show, which has pretty much been this past weekend. That is come and gone, but I'll include a link here as well. You could probably find a video for it somewhere out there. I'll throw a link to this in the video description as usual, and you can check it out for yourself. Alright, next up, Baltic Dragon has posted that he has a new Raven 1 multiplayer mission coming soon, coming to DCS this Wednesday, if all goes as planned. The new R1 mission, designed from the ground up with Kevin Miller and Jello from Fighter Pilot Podcast, as a multiplayer training sortie for 2 players, but it can also be flown alone. And then this image basically details some of what they've got planned. Pretty cool stuff. I'll throw a link to this in the video description as usual, and you can check it out for yourself. Alright, a new video has popped up with Matt Wagner, the DCS F-16C HARM Automatic IFF.
Wags here from Eagle Dynamics, and an upcoming update for the DCS F-16C Hornet. We have some new functionality for the Identify Friend or Foe, or IFF system, of the Combined Interrogator Transponder, or the CIT. Now, of course, right now you can designate a target and manually depress the sensor control switch to interrogate a target. What's coming up is the ability to do this automatically based on the LNS, or the launch and steering target, or just automatically based on the azimuth setting ahead of you. So we have the azimuth over elevation on the left side assigned to TDC, and by default the LNS interrogation is automatically selected. Let's go ahead and set this guy here as our LNS, depress the TDC, and you see the 2 green bars indicating that it did the azimuth IFF search along that spot, and we had 2 targets come back as hostile because we had 2 identifications, both our IFF as well as from the E2, and of course outside those are still unidentified. Now what we can also do is we can do it at the same time as well. Let's go ahead and go to Auto IFF.
So the video is about 2 minutes and 30 seconds long. I'll throw a link to this in the video description as usual, and you can check it out for yourself. Alright, yet another video from Matt Wagner from the other day. The HARM POS Ruck Mode video from the F-16C Viper.
Hey everyone, Wags here from Eagle Dynamics, and an upcoming update we're going to be adding a new mode for the Viper's AGM-88C HARM anti-radiation missile. Now, currently in the Viper, we have the HARM as sensor mode, or HAS, and this allows you to directly attack an emitting SAM radar. Now we're going to be adding position mode. And within that, we have 3 different submodes. The first of which we'll implement is called the RUK submode, or range unknown. And a bit later, then we'll be adding the equation of motion, EOM, as well as the pre-brief, or PB mode. Now, the big difference between these 2 modes of HARM as sensor and position is that when you're in position mode, you'll actually be launching the HARM at a designated steer point. And within a designated range and azimuth from that steer point, the HARM seeker will turn on and search for a radar type that you selected and then home in on that radar. Now, the 2 big advantages of this is, one, that you don't have to wait for that radar to start emitting to attack it, and also because you have some range information for where their steer point at least is located, it allows that HARM to loft, which gives it much better range. Now, with this first submode position, RUK, as the name implies, we don't exactly know where that radar might be in relation to the selected steer point. So it gives it a pretty big area to look for, in this case within 20 nautical miles of the steer point and within 120 degrees. So
This video is about 6 minutes long. I'll throw a link to this in the video description as usual, and you can check it out for yourself. That's right, yet another Matt Wagner video, again detailing the F-16C Viper targeting pod and Maverick tips.
Wags here from Eagle Dynamics, and in an upcoming update we have some nice changes coming for the targeting pod for the Viper. This includes much better modeling of the sensor point of interest for pointing, the ability to better hand off targets in auto mode from the targeting pod to an infrared guided Maverick, implementation of snowplow mode, and also want to touch a little bit on using INR mode when the pod gets masked. So first, actually, let's take a look at that last one. So as you can see, I have the Maverick D version up on the right, targeting pod on the left. Let's go ahead and make targeting pod our sensor of interest, field of view. And as always, if you have trouble seeing targets, you can always change the camera type. Right now we're TV, we can go team as short left to white hot, then black hot, and it looks pretty good. So targets over here, zoom in. And let's take a look at this guy right here. So right now it's in area mode, but of course we can go team as forward short, we can go to a point track mode. Now the key here to remember is, if you're in area mode, the targeting pod is essentially remembering a scene to determine its line of sight to that scene. If you're in point track mode, as you might imagine, it's using very much a point object that it's determining its line of sight. The problem is, whether it's an area or point, if the targeting pod can no longer see that area or point, it's going to start having slew errors. The key is actually, before that happening, going into an IR mode. So let's go ahead and take a look at not how to do it first, and then we'll look at the solution as a second run. So we're going to be here in point track mode. Let's go ahead and unpause and have a slew error. Okay, now the pod is masked, so we can no longer see that point target. And the more I maneuver, the more slew errors I'm introducing to where the targeting pod is looking. And let's come back in again, and we'll take a look at where the targeting pod is looking now.
This video is about 10 minutes long. I'll throw a link to this in the video description as usual, and you can check it out for yourself. Yet another awesome video to talk about from Tactical Pascale today. This one is the F-86 startup video.
Hello, I'm Tactical Pascale. Welcome to the channel. I hope this finds you all safe and well. This video is the startup tutorial for the F-86 Sabre in DCS World. Don't forget to press that like button and click to subscribe. There's going to be more cool stuff coming out soon. New videos every week.
This guy's stuff is getting better, and better every time I see a video from this guy. This is only about 6 minutes long, but it's a really cool video, and it's done very well. And I can't say enough good stuff about Tactical Pascale. This dude's stuff is just coming a long way. And it's definitely one of my favorite DCS or flight sim YouTubers out there. I'll definitely throw a link to this in the video description as usual, and you can check it out for yourself. Here's another thing that popped up that I thought was really good. It's the Fighter Pilot Podcast, the real only man to down 3 enemy planes in the past 40 years.
Years of service, combat medals, citations, only man to down 3 enemy aircraft in the last 40 years. Ha! Wrong, Ed Harris. Hey everyone, my name's Vincent Aiello. I'm the host of the Fighter Pilot Podcast. And no, it's not me. It's retired United States Air Force Colonel Cesar Rodriguez, call sign Rico. And he downed 2 enemy MiGs in Desert Storm and a 3rd in Allied Force. And it's all in his F-15 Eagle. And he stopped by the show to talk about it last summer, 2020. We had a 2-hour discussion. And what I want to play for you now for about the next 40 to 45 minutes is some excerpts of that. So you'll see some chops and cuts. But this is Rico talking about his experiences. Check it out, and I'll talk to you on the back end. Hope you enjoy it.
All right. Hello, Rico. How are you?
Jello, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. All right. Welcome to Happy Hour. Let's see. What have you got?
I've got Tecate.
Oh, well, that is appropriate. You're down in Tucson, right?
That's right.
Okay. I've got a
10
local.
miles, you got a VID. So we're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard spot.
Yeah.
And did not opt to wing it and take a BVR shot, even though I was carrying a MiG-29 Spike on my RWR, and I had not completed my ID matrix, so I had no idea of mode 1, mode 2, mode 4, or anything else.
The spike you were talking about is coming from the 330 bearing?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then just for everyone who might be listening later, the mode 1, 2, and 4 you're talking about are the different transponder settings, if you will, of an IFF. And that's a whole, we haven't even touched on that here on the show yet, but different ways to identify friend or foe, as IFF stands for. Okay.
So when I get spiked, I give as much radar data to my wingman verbally, and then I do a beam notch, if you will. I roll inverted, pull straight down to the dirt, and I am pointing straight at the ground. My goal there is, one, to get below the radar plane of motion of the MiG-29, so I can start becoming part of the ground clutter. I start pumping out a bunch of chaff to try and decoy my airplane, so the MiG has a hard time looking at me. It's not a hard solution for his airplane because he's got a blue sky background, so I got to make it hard for him. He's at 8,000 feet, so I'm passing through 35 and screaming straight at the dirt, and then as I'm starting my level off, I start the level off at about 2,000 or 3,000 feet, and eventually get down to about 500 feet on the deck. But now the spike continues to follow my airplane off my right wing. So at least I know it's on the right wing somewhere, but I just can't find this.
This is another absolutely fantastic video from the Fighter Pilot Podcast. I highly recommend checking this one out. I'll throw a link to this in the video description as usual, and you can check it out for yourself. Lastly is one of the things I've been most excited about, and it's not really a flight sim, but it's a space sim. And the 4.0 release for Star Wars Squadrons is live. And tons of stuff in this update, and I'm not even going to begin to try to read this because there's too much to cover. However, the most notable, or the ones that stand out in my mind, are added support for Track IR on the PC, which is fantastic news. And as we go on down, a couple weeks ago they added a new map, I believe, but now They've added the B-Wing and the TIE Defender, which are two just absolutely amazing and totally iconic Star Wars starfighters. And I can't wait to download this and give it a shot and have some fun with it. And I like the fact that now there's track IR support, so I don't have to use VR. Now I will say this, since that last update, I think the 3.0 version, VR did get a little bit better. And they had mentioned that they've added some sliders and whatnot to kind of fine-tune the VR experience a little bit better. And I have to admit, what they've done does make it a little bit better. I have the Rift S headset, and I have an i9 9900K, 32 gigs of PC 3000 memory running off an SSD, and a 2080 Super GPU, and it runs better. It's still not perfect. It's still not, what I would like it to be in VR, but it is pretty fucking cool. But now that I can do, track IR, and on my, 3840 by 1080 49-inch monitor, I can do a super ultra wide screen and use my track IR. I'm really looking forward to trying it now. I think that is going to be the way to go, to be honest. And you know what? That's how I do all my flight sims anymore. I have a Rift S, but I'm just not impressed with VR lately. The performance of the Rift S with a system as good as mine just isn't that great in like DCS. It is good in IL-2, I'll say that. In the Great Battle stuff, it's pretty freaking amazing. But I don't know, man. I think it's easier to throw the hat on, little baseball hat that has the little IR sensors on it, and use my track IR and this really super ultra wide display that I have, and have a equally as awesome situational awareness, to be honest. I'm just not that impressed with VR like I was at first. It's almost, to me, it seems like I don't know, just one of those things that just at first is, oh my god, this is awesome, and then later on down the line, I'm just like, it's more of a pain in the ass to have a headset on, and it's uncomfortable at times. In the summertime, it was just, man, it drove me crazy. It was so hot. Again, I'm not sold on VR like everybody else is at the moment. I haven't seen the HP Reverb G2, so maybe once I see one of those, I'll change my tune, but I don't know. I just don't think it's where I'm comfortable with it yet. I prefer track IR and this monitor that I have and the performance that I get at that resolution. It's kind of hard to go back once you have 80 to 100 frames per second and a lot of things, going back to sub 60, sub 40 in VR for most stuff. It just gets hard to swallow. You've seen what it looks like, and it looks so much better on that flat panel with the track IR support. And the same goes for Squadrons, man. It really does. So that's it for the Flight Sim News. I'll throw a link to this in the video description as usual, and you can check it out for yourself as well. As always, thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. Feel free to hit that like button. And until next time, guys.